Here's the thing, Dutchman. The world knows I won. You know I won. Let's have a man dance. Give me back my belt, you Dutchman.
What makes a fight worth running back? Sometimes it's fate pulling two fighters together again. Other times, a razor-thin result leaves us in a debate that needs clarity. Or maybe it's their personalities and hype they bring to the matchup.
Are you anticipating going through another fight where it could get pretty nasty in the lead-up?
I don't know. I mean, does he want to cry again?
I just want to make motherfuckers bleed. And Dricus is the next one who's gonna fucking bleed.
Sometimes you get worried that there's a lot of buildup and maybe it's not going to deliver a little bit.
These guys went at it.
Ever since UFC 297, we knew Part 2 was bound to happen. And, well,
here we are, a year after it happened the first time. Dricus versus Strickland now is very different. These guys haven't even got started yet.
In the main event of UFC 312, the South African champion Dricus Du Plessis will run it back against the American badass Sean Strickland to settle the rivalry.
He came to me in the cage and he said, "You definitely beat me." You could see it in his face. He knew he wasn't winning that fight.
Dricus doesn't want to win a belt like that. He wants the rematch, as of always, to the fucking death.
In the co-main event, the strawweight champion Zhang Weili is back to take on the undefeated Tatiana Suarez. A solid fight that'll certainly spice up the landscape for women's MMA.
But I love the co-main, dude. Are you getting moved on that? With Suarez, it's like you don't know when the calendar's going to arrive where she's healthy at the right time. The right time is now then.
For the co-main event, Zhang Weili returns. This woman is incredible. She's on a roll, but taking on Tatiana Suarez, this woman is not to be taken lightly.
The rest of this card may not stack up to the high standards we've built from recent pay-per-views, but these two title fights alone are more than deserving of special attention.
Du Plessis is a monster.
And Sean Strickland is a monster too. They had a very close fight last time. These guys are going to battle for the middleweight championship.
Let's take an inside look into UFC 312. The strawweight title fight between Zhang Weili and Tatiana Suarez might just be the most interesting stylistic matchup on this card on February 8th. Will it be the elite physicality and well-roundedness of the champion? Or will the fighter once described as the female Khabib reign supreme?
What do you make of the female Khabib moniker?
I think we kind of have the same gauge. Like, we both dominate the fights.
To say that Tatiana's rise has been slow would be an understatement. Upon debuting back in 2016, it didn't take long for us to realize that we were witnessing something special. The 5 dominant wins that followed led many people to believe that we were watching the future of the division. However, injuries would keep Suarez sidelined for 3.5 years of what should have been her prime. And though she has rebounded with a pair of finishes over Montana De La Rosa and Jessica Andrade, her last octagon appearance was nearly a year and a half ago. Simply put, it's now or never for the 34-year-old.
They've been trying to move her up. They're like, you know what? Fuck it. The clock's ticking.
Yeah.
If we don't give her a title shot now, her health might fail us before she even gets a shot to get up there.
33 years old, but undefeated and dominant.
So they just said, fuck it. Forget the other contenders. Just get to the front of the queue.
But she's facing a truly difficult assignment in the champ, Zhang Weili. In a division as new as strawweight, inserting your name into the GOAT conversation will come around a bit quicker than other weight classes. And while those 2 losses to Rose Namajunas hurt her case, Weili beat the consensus GOAT twice, one of those times being a bona fide classic and the other one of the greatest KOs in women's UFC history. She also has 3 title defenses across 2 different reigns. But more than anything else, Weili represents the most dangerous fighter the division has ever known.
Weili's story has been very fantastic.
Just a very kind human being, but then she gets in that cage too and she turns into something very, very far from that. Good luck trying to beat her.
This matchup is more than a simple striker versus grappler matchup, and the amount of unknowns we have makes it that bit more intriguing.
Weili versus Suarez is good because I've seen Suarez come up and she's just such a good grappler. We haven't seen a woman in this division dominate with grappling like this in a long time, and I think she's going to give Weili a lot of trouble.
Zhang Weili, as we know, China's first ever champion, and Suarez is a fighter in every meaning of the word. Undefeated, 10-0.
If there's anyone that is going to challenge Tatiana in all of her wrestling, in all of her physical ability, in all of her elite gifts, it's gonna be Zhang Weili.
Just a few years ago, it was hard to imagine the UFC middleweight division thriving without Israel Adesanya, Robert Whittaker, or even Alex Pereira at the helm. The two fighters who have led the charge for over a year now are Dricus Du Plessis and Sean Strickland, two underdogs who've defied the odds on their path to success. Strickland's journey to becoming a UFC champion was obviously longer and filled with more bumps along the way. But it's also those very struggles that made his moment all the more compelling.
I don't care what you feel about Sean Strickland. This guy is not supposed to be. This guy has nothing. He's from nothing, but now he's a different person. He's gonna be loud. He's gonna be obnoxious, but he recognizes everything, man.
I'm sure the UFC was thrilled knowing someone as unhinged as Strickland would be representing them on a stage this big. There's no denying the fans are drawn to his unfiltered, outspoken charisma.
I'm ready to give what it needs to give. When I walk into that cage, you guys fuel me, man. I want to go in there and I want to win that belt for you guys, and I want to bring some pride back to the middleweight division.
The middleweight division had officially entered into a new chapter, and his first challenger was another guy a lot of us didn't expect to see in that position. Du Plessis quickly made a mark when he entered into the promotion in late 2020, though his fight style definitely raised some questions over how far he'd really make it.
Dricus Du Plessis may be a change in the fight game, showing everyone how effectiveness is different than technique. Usually the two are synonymous or lead to each other.
Dricus looks awkward when he fights. He moves different, but that movement and that awkwardness makes him difficult to time.
As the competition grew tougher, he still found a way to win, as ugly as it might have been. When he reached the elite, he made tons of people eat their words and proved himself undeniable for a shot at the belt.
I counted. I didn't give him a fucking chance against Robert Whittaker, and boy was I wrong.
It seemed like coming into this fight, a lot of people are counting you out, not giving you your respect. Do you think now people appreciate what you're able to do in there and give you your recognition?
There was a ton of doubters. What can they say now, right?
Yeah, I guess I got lucky again. Woohoo!
Can you see how out of breath I am?
You go and have about T-minus 2 hours to go to
delete a whole lot of comments because I'm coming from that social media.
You're looking at the next middleweight champ. What?
Ahead of their first meeting at UFC 297, Dricus and Sean unleashed a surprising storm of chaos, injecting another level of hype and intensity to the matchup.
There is nothing in combat that sells like a true grudge. Nothing. This match with Du Plessis is a grudge match.
These two have been going back and forth trading barbs, and it continues to escalate.
You think your dad beat?
Back in agreement. Do the death. Do the death.
At UFC 297, the two went to war in a grueling 5-round battle that left fans divided over who really won. Strickland started strong, breaking Dricus down with his jab in the first round. However, Dricus made some adjustments in the second, cutting Strickland open and swinging the momentum in his favor. From that point, Dricus found his rhythm, landing heavier shots and seemingly securing the third and fourth rounds, though the third was close. Then Strickland came back and won the fifth, leaving the final result.
Listen, I'm not calling it a robbery. There is it was a really close fight. Each round was extremely competitive. But I did have Strickland ahead.
No, I had Du Plessis ahead. I had him winning.
It went 5 rounds, a split decision, but the correct call was made.
If you have a split decision loss, that is one of the best indications that it was a close fight. And the kind of fights you want to see a rematch on are the ones that are close fights.
The fight easily warranted an immediate rematch, but the UFC had other plans. Sean was forced to take another fight against Paulo Costa before getting another crack at gold, since we all know they had plans to book Dricus against the former champ Israel Adesanya for the Battle of Africa fight.
I'm gonna beat Costa, and I'm gonna win that fucking belt back.
Dricus made another big statement by submitting Adesanya, while Sean, despite not having his best performance against Costa a few months prior, solidified himself as the clear #1 contender. Now, the highly anticipated rematch is set to unfold on February 8th.
Listen here, Dricus, Dutchman. I know you like to take a year off and you want to go walk around. Let's handle this like men. I'm ready. You're not ready, but let's get it done.
This fight's going to be a banger again. Hopefully this time it's not a jab, cheap competition, and like he says to death, he actually walks forward and tries to fight and not hide behind his shoulder.
At this point, we know exactly what both bring to the table. They're both tough, conditioned, and well-matched in many ways. Their high pace and output add another layer of excitement too. It'll be interesting to see Sean's defensive and more technical approach against the aggressive, brawling nature of Dricus again.
Dricus was the one going forward. He was the one throwing the big, wild, aggressive shots, and he was the one hitting the takedowns. But Sean can grapple with the best of them as well. And I believe in this fight that Sean Strickland is probably going to be the one shooting for takedowns himself.
We see Sean Strickland in the gym out wrestling and out grappling damn near every person he goes with, but doesn't utilize that as a tool. So in the moments that we were taken down with Dricus, he hit a switch. Bro, take the switch and get on top.
His fighting style is very, very effective in avoiding damage and winning by decision. The man has 8 split decision victories. I mean, that in itself, I have to tell you, the man's not going out there to finish fights or to entertain. I went and I fought Strickland on his strength. I made him go backwards. I'll take one to give one because I know mine's harder.
It's hard to imagine their game plans would change drastically, but this is MMA. The result could still be drastically different. It's clear Dricus has the power advantage, and he's shown he can pose more immediate danger. But Sean's calculated yet effective tactics can always be difficult to deal with on any given night.
I don't know, man. Sean Strickland gonna jab, push, kick, and brawl until he takes the title back. I mean, I think that DDP, okay, while his striking is not the most refined, you have to respect it, because when he throws those big bungalows at you, better duck your head or you're gonna sit down on the mat. And if he gets Sean down, starts smashing, Sean's gonna really have to dig deep into his black belt bag of tricks to get out of there. That fight is the fight to watch. I can't wait to see it.
These are two savages who are capable of inflicting serious damage in more ways than one. No matter how it plays out, this will be a critical fight for both going forward, and the winner will likely set themselves up for a massive title defense against the Wolf next.